In the last module, we provided an overview of the PRINCE2 themes. In this module, we'll dive into detail on one of the most important themes, which is organization. The purpose of the organization theme is to define and establish a project structure of accountability and responsibilities. PRINCE2 is based on a customer-supplier environment. This means that there's a customer who specifies the desired result and pays for it, and a supplier who delivers the finished product or provides the resources to produce it. The project board should include representation from each of these three project interest groups, which are business, user, and supplier. The first project interest is business. The products of the project should meet a business need and should justify investments that have been made in the project, and the executive's role is to look after the business interests. Now, a project should provide value for money. The executive is the one responsible for ensuring that a project fulfills its key business objectives. The second project interest is that of the user. Now, user represents those individuals or groups who will use the outputs of a project to realize the benefits after the project is complete. For instance, for a mobile phone manufacturing company, users are those who will purchase and use phones after they're out for sale in the market. Users can also be those who will operate, maintain, or support the project's outputs. User viewpoints should represent people who will be impacted by the outputs of the project. For instance, if the sale of mobile phones affects the market for associated mobile accessories, then the firms manufacturing mobile accessories are also users. In PRINCE2, the user's interests on the project board are typically represented by a senior user. The third business interest is that of the supplier. The supplier is the one who will provide the skills necessary for development and the activities which will produce the project product. A project may need to use both in-house and external supplier teams. For example, an aircraft manufacturer like Boeing uses jet engines manufactured by Rolls-Royce and General Electric. Hence, they are external suppliers for Boeing. In PRINCE2, the senior supplier or suppliers represent the stakeholder interest on the project board. Now let's explore the PRINCE2 approach to organization. A PRINCE2 project has defined and agreed roles and responsibilities within an organizational structure. These roles and responsibilities engage the business, the user, and the supplier stakeholder interests. To be successful, a PRINCE2 project must have an explicit project management team structure consisting of defined and agreed roles and responsibilities for the people involved in the project. The project management team structure must also include means for effective communication among the people involved. Now let's have a look at the 4 levels of a project management team. The first level is corporate or program management. This level sits outside the project management team and is responsible for commissioning the project. The second level is directing. The project board is at the directing level and is responsible for the overall direction and management of the project. The third level is managing. The project manager is responsible for all activities related to day-to-day management of the project. And the fourth level is delivering. The team manager is responsible for delivering the project's products of an appropriate quality within a specified timescale and cost. Now that we've gone through levels of organization, let's discuss the project management team structure, which is illustrated here. A project management team is a temporary structure formed to manage a project. The project management team is active only while the project runs. The team is disbanded once the project is over. The roles of the executive and senior user can often be combined. However, some of the PRINCE2 responsibilities cannot be shared or delegated if they're to be undertaken effectively. For example, the project manager and executive roles cannot be shared. The executive cannot play the role of project manager, and there cannot be more than one executive or project manager in a project. Similarly, the decision-making accountability of both the project manager and project board cannot be delegated. Now, let's discuss what constitutes an effective and efficient project board. An effective project board should display 4 key characteristics: authority, credibility, ability to delegate, and availability. It's good practice to keep the size of the project board as small as possible. We will continue our look at the project management team by exploring the role of an executive. The executive is appointed by the corporate or program management during the pre-project process of starting up a project. The executive is responsible for the business aspects of a project. He or she ensures that the project provides value for money. The executive is responsible for the creation of the business case and benefits review plan. The next role is that of a senior user. The senior user commits user resources and monitors products against requirements. The senior user notes customer requirements and ensures they are met. This role may require more than one person to cover all the user interests. The third role is that of the senior supplier. The senior supplier is accountable for the quality of products delivered by the supplier or suppliers and is responsible for the technical integrity of the project. The senior supplier is responsible for delivering the product according to its quality requirements. The project assurance role is responsible for monitoring all aspects of the project's performance and products. The project board fulfills this role independently of the project manager. Project board members are responsible for the aspects of project assurance aligned to their respective areas of concern, which would be business, user, or supplier. Sometimes, the project board can delegate their project assurance responsibilities to a separate project assurance team. The next role is that of change authority. The project board is responsible for approving all changes to the project. They can, however, delegate this role to a separate change authority which has representation from all three stakeholders. The change authority is responsible for approving the changes that are made to the project over time. Each change could be a new requirement or a feature that was agreed upon but may have been missing. The project board's responsibility is to agree to each potential change to the baseline before it's implemented. Now, let's discuss the role of a project manager. In a PRINCE2 environment, the project manager's role is not shared. The project manager generally comes from the customer corporate organization and is responsible for the work of all PRINCE2 processes except directing a project. Now, the project manager can take on the role of a team manager if required. In the absence of a separate person or group performing a project support role, it defaults to the project manager. If a project manager is not appointed by the corporate or program management during the pre-project starting up a project process, the project manager would be appointed by the executive. Another important role is that of team manager. A team manager's primary responsibility is to ensure the delivery of products or deliverables according to quality criteria and the completion of tasks allocated by the project manager. Now, the last role is that of project support, which is not optional on a project. Project support is a responsibility of the project manager. If required, the project manager can delegate some work to another who is fulfilling the project support role. This may include providing administrative services, advice and guidance on the use of project management tools, or configuration management. Project support and project assurance roles should be kept separate in order to maintain the independence of project assurance. Next, we'll be discussing communication management strategy. The communication management strategy should document the frequency of communication, which includes the means and details of communication between the project and the project stakeholders as required by the project board. It additionally contains a description of communication to parties both internal and external to the project. The project manager is responsible for documenting the communication management strategy during the initiating a project stage. This is also updated at stage boundaries during the managing a stage boundary process. When planning the final stage of the project, it's important to review the communication management strategy to ensure that it includes all the parties who need to be advised on the closure of the project. Now that we've reached the end of this module, let's review a few key points you should remember. The project board and project assurance should include all three stakeholders, that is, business, user, and supplier. Project assurance is a responsibility of the project board, hence it's independent of the project manager. The project board can take on the role of project assurance and change authority. There can only be one executive and one project manager in a project. The executive and senior user or user's role can be combined. Collectively, they're referred to as customer. The project manager can take on the role of team manager and project support. He or she can also act as a change authority for specific work packages. Finally, project support is not considered an optional role.